The purpose of this video is to explain the components, setup, gameplay, and losing and winning conditions for the Civil War experience. The first components to show are the different card types. There are 6 total card types. The first one is the resource. The resource cards are a significant component of the Civil War experience. Resources are required to develop deployment points, which are used to deploy your other cards. Resources are designated by the R on the right side of the card. Any information that you see above the divider is specific to that card. For example, this quartermaster's office provides 1 deploy point. Above the statement provides 1 deploy point, you will see, when played, place 1 gear from your deck into play and then shuffle your deck. All of the cards that have a special ability, the ability is found above the divider. The historical statement on every card is found below the divider. The next card to examine is the infantry card. All unit cards have 4 key components. In the top left corner you will notice a red cross. The red cross is for the total hit points for that unit card. The top right corner has an accuracy requirement. The accuracy requirement works with the 2 6-sided dice to determine what roll is required for a unit to land its attack. In the middle left side you will see a stack of gold coins. This is the deployment cost. This is how many deployment points are required to deploy that unit. In the middle right side you will see a bullet hole. This is for damage. This is how much damage that unit card deals to its opponent if its accuracy roll is met. Another card type to examine is cavalry. All of the components are the same as the infantry, except for it will have different stats and it will also be designated by a C on the right side of the card.
Go ahead.
The last unit type is artillery. Notice that it has all of the same components as the other unit cards. The difference is that it has an A to designate artillery on the right side of the unit card. The next type of card is gear. There are 2 types of gear. One type is applied directly to a unit card and applies its effect immediately. The other type is standalone gear and is played behind the unit line on the battlefield. Standalone gear does not apply its effect until the next turn. The last card type is extraordinary circumstance. These cards are unique because they can be played at any time as long as you have enough stored deployment points in your resource silo. The next set of components include hit point counters, deployment point counters, the resource silos, and the dice. Hit point counters are red and black discs that are played directly to a unit card. This allows you to keep track of damage until the hit point requirement is met, and then that card is discarded, removed from the game to the discard pile. Deployment point counters are the gold and black discs that are used in conjunction with the resource silo. The resource silo is where you store unused deployment points that are gathered from your resources. If you use deployment points from the resource silo, remove them from the silo as they're used and put them back into the pile of unused points. The last component is 2d6. The 2 6-sided dice are used to determine who goes first and also to roll for the accuracy requirement for each unit type as they attack. The first step is to choose whether you are the USA or the CSA. We're going to use the USA. Then you need to look through your deck to find 2 infantryman cards, the forest and river resource cards, and the resource silo card. Place all of these on the battlefield with the infantryman cards beginning your unit line in front of your resource line. Place your resource silo near your resource line. Locate the 2 6-sided dice. Locate and empty the bag of hit point counters and deployment point counters. Each player then draws 7 cards. Do not show your hand to your opponent. Each player rolls a 6-sided die. The player who rolled the highest goes first. Once you have finished with your setup, it's time to start the game. Each turn consists of 4 parts. The first part is to draw a card from the draw pile and add it to your hand. Then you count your deployment points by expending your resources. Notice that we have 1 river and 1 forest. So we expend the river and forest. This provides us with 2 deployment points. After you have counted your resources, you can then deploy cards from your hand if you have the required amount of deployment points. In our hand, we have 1 resource that costs 1 deployment point, so we will deploy that card. That leaves us with 1 deployment point to save for another turn. Notice that I take the deployment point counter and place it in my resource silo. I can then use that counter on my next turn to deploy another card. After you have paid the deployment cost of any cards and you have played those cards, you can then initiate your attack. With our initial setup, we have 2 infantrymen that are able to attack. We expend both infantrymen and then roll for an accuracy roll. Both of these infantrymen have an 8 as their accuracy roll. We rolled a 7, so these 2 infantrymen would not have landed their attack. Once you have completed the accuracy roll for all of your various unit types, it is then the other player's turn. At the beginning of a player's turn, the first thing they do is recover all units and resources. To recover a unit or resource, you simply turn the card back to the original face. You then draw a card. You collect your deployment points. Notice now we have 3 deployment points. We also have 1 deployment point in our resource silo. That means any cards that we have in our hand that are equal to or less than 4 deployment points can be played. In this case, we have a young sailor infantryman card, which costs us 1 deployment point. Now we will spend 1 of the 3 deployment points and we will store 2 more deployment points in our resource silo. This allows us to pay for a more expensive card on the following turn. We have fast forwarded the game, and now you will see that we have infantry, cavalry, and artillery unit types. Also, 2 of the unit types are equipped with a piece of gear directly to the unit. We've also fast forwarded our collection of resources and notice that we have many more resources that are more powerful than the forest and the river. Initiating the attack phase with multiple unit types, you will roll 1 accuracy roll for all of the units of the same type. So first we'll roll for the infantry. We have a Freedman Sergeant with an accuracy roll of 7, and we have a Zouave infantry platoon with an accuracy rating of 5. The first thing that we will do is roll the dice, and we rolled a 12. So both the 7 and the 5 hit because the 12 exceeds the 7 and the 5 minimums. Also notice that with the gear Old Glory equipped on the Freedman Sergeant, it increases his attack from 4 to 7. You put the 3 plus the 4 for a total damage of 7 would be delivered to the enemy unit. Also notice that this gives the Freedman Sergeant an extra 20 hit points. The next attack would be with the cavalry. We have a cavalryman equipped with a revolver. We roll the dice and there's a roll of 3. Even though the revolver reduces the cavalry's accuracy rating from 7 to 6, with its -1 multiplier, the 3 is still too low, and that cavalryman would not land his attack. Our final unit type is artillery, and we have a 13-inch mortar siege artillery and a 32-pounder, one with an accuracy rating of 7, the other with an accuracy rating of 6. We would roll the dice, and we rolled an 8. So both of the minimum accuracy ratings would land their attack and deal damage to their opponent. The goal of the game is to eliminate all of your enemies' units, resources, and gear from the battlefield. So through the process of attacking your opponent, you will eliminate each of their units. Once all of the units are eliminated, their resources and or standalone gear are exposed for attack. The way that you kill a resource is simply by landing an attack on that resource. Any attack landed on a resource will kill it, and it will be put into the discard pile. Whenever all of resources, units, and gear are clear of the battlefield, the game is over.